Okay, another question.
No, one question at a time.
Okay.
So, what's the question on this?
تبارك الله أحسن الخالقين. Does this mean there is another creator, like for example Jesus Christ who created the bats? Does this mean that? Is this the meaning of that, or there is another?
Yes, there can be many creators, but the only creator who creates from nothing without any previous exemplar, who we will call al-Badi', Badi' as-samawati wal-ard, Badi' Allah. You can create a watch, you can create a masterpiece, but you cannot create something from nothing. So Allah is the best of the creators because that's the true form of creation when He creates. When there is nothing, He can create. You need something to manipulate into another form. That's a form of creation, but it's not real creation. You can worship a tree or a stone and we can call them God, but these are not the true God. These are false gods. So we can say Allah is the only true God out of many false gods. Yeah? So people can say there is gods, many gods. Yeah, there are many gods, but there is only one true God.
His question, he said, why Allah used we, and he said no.
That's not the question about no.
That's what he said.
The question is, أحسن الخالقين. No. Question is, like is Jesus also creator? So that's the question. This is the Arabic language. Allah uses iltifat. You familiar with the iltifat? Where Allah uses from one person to another person, one gender from, he can say from Mansur to Majroor, in cases he can do that. A form of address for a rhetorical effect. For example, Allah uses all the time, worship me, never say worship us. Never. Because when He says worship me, if my slave asks of me, فَإِنَّا قَرِيبٌ or فَإِنِّي قَرِيب? فَإِنِّي قَرِيب. When it's I, it's all about closeness, proximity, closeness. Yeah? When Allah says نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرِ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ, He's talking about His might, His power, His majesty. نحن خلقناكم فلولا تصدقون. Isn't the ayah like this? He is showing His might, His ability, His power, His majesty, His sovereignty. But when it comes to closeness, I worship me. Yeah.
Another question, if you have time.
Of course, تفضل.
If God were perfect in creating, why there are a lot of handicaps?
Okay, so there is no question about this creation is perfect. This creation is fit for purpose. Allah did not say, I created this heaven. No, Allah says He will create Adam alayhi salam, inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. This ard, Allah said, did not say this is Jannah, Jannatul Khuld. This is not it. There is going to be a creation called Jannah, or there is, in which there will be no suffering, there will be no pain. This is Jannah. But this is a creation Allah created, and He has put within it natural laws. Natural laws means there will be sometimes flood, sometimes with drought, depending on what happens with this natural laws, right? Where you live. He's also placed within human being free will. With your free will, because He didn't create robots, remember, before He created Adam alayhi salam, Allah created the angels, well before, right? The angels, they cannot disobey Allah. They have to do whatever Allah tells them to do. They are totally without this kind of disobedience to Allah. He created a creation like the human beings and the jinn beforehand. The human being in particular we are talking about. We can disobey with our own will if we want to. Now, if Allah says, do not commit mischief on the earth, do not commit bloodshed, and we do that, we are responsible. But when we do that, we are creating suffering. We are creating misery. We are creating unhappiness. If now someone stops someone, that person is in pain. Maybe he will die. That's suffering. That's pain, isn't it? Now this is something that Allah allows because He's given someone free will. If Allah were to stop everyone from doing that, then there will be no free will. If Allah were to stop every tsunami, every earthquake, every murder, every rape and so on, then there's no free will. You're like robots. But Allah gave this free will when it comes to human action so that you can then see it for yourself whether you deserve to go to Jannah or Jahannam. But He is not responsible for your actions. You are. So that's why the problems that is there is because this dunya is in this setup where we can exercise our free will, and it's also a place where Allah did not create it to be utopia, paradise. That is a place where we should be aiming to go towards. And to go towards that place, we have to fulfill the purpose of our life. And if we do that, we will, according to God's promise, go in this place of happiness and total joy and tranquility.
So that's why He created the handicaps.
No, He didn't create the handicaps. Sometimes handicaps, people with handicaps, are often the results of the parents themselves. Often the results of the parents themselves. For example, if you are exposed to radiation, we have to go into radiation. Have you heard of the accidents in Chernobyl? Nuclear accident, nuclear, yes. Do you know what happened after these accidents? When people gave birth, they were handicapped. What made them handicapped? Because of this radiation effect. So that is also a cause. Now, if they were not there, these people would not have these handicapped children. So this is resultant from these radiation that they were exposed to. So you can be exposed to certain kind of this natural bad things, or I'm just giving an example of this, and then you can have these handicaps. Now that doesn't mean everyone is like this, handicaps. There could be genetic defects.
I'm talking about this other one.
No, there could be genetic defects. So if we can use genetic mappings, gene mappings, right? If we can find out by looking at our genes whether there is a particular problem that's hereditary. Yeah? You've heard of, 1,000 genome projects?
Yeah.
Okay, many projects with genes, right? If we know that you have a particular genetic disorder, or you are a carrier yourself, then the chances are that your children likely to have that, depending on what are you, a dominant or a recessive in your trade. Whether it's, many of the genetic disorders, right?
Yeah.
So you can have a quarter chance of your child to have that, for example, or they can have it in a 50-50 chance. If both of them, there is ways of working this out, right? Simple is Mendelian genetics. If this was the case, and then you had this marriage and produced the baby, you know that there will be a handicap, some kind of genetic disability. You could have prevented it by screening and saying, maybe we shouldn't have children, maybe my partner shouldn't have this. Various things you can do. But also there are people who cannot do that. We also say Allah sometimes may test the parents. As you were saying, I think. Test the parents. Remember, we are on this earth. We are on this earth for a purpose, and we need to fulfill our purpose. It doesn't mean you have to have all the riches, all the wealth to fulfill a purpose. Or it doesn't mean that someone who's poor, he cannot fulfill the purpose. It may mean that a person who's poor can fulfill his or her purpose than the one who is rich. These wealth and richness can be arbitrary in your goal of fulfilling the purpose. Likewise, is you're fulfilling the purpose maybe with a handicapped child or a perfectly well child. You can be tested on both ways. What we're saying is you might be questioning is what's wrong with that child then? What did he do or she do? You can ask that. What did they do? No, everyone will be judged accordingly. God is merciful to everyone. So if a person is born handicapped, if they have this kind of, say, some obstacles or restrictions or some deficiencies or incapabilities already, their purpose and fulfilling the purpose is also based on what they have. For example, if someone is blind or deaf and so on, they will not have the same kind of equal treatment and judgment in terms of the potential that you had, the same. That will be taken into consideration. Yeah? If you are very slow in learning, you have, say you have dyslexia, in an exam paper, in an exam situation, I will take that into account. I'm not going to say no, sit the exam like the other person who has no dyslexia. Then I will be unfair to you.
But
I will be unjust to you.
I say, if one dyslexia, you see things in a different way.
Yeah.
You don't suffer disability. It's not a hindrance. A lot of dyslexic people are millionaires. They picture things in their mind.
Yeah.
And furthermore, in ancient Egypt, they read things opposite from the way we read things in English.
Yeah. So dyslexia, not necessarily something that hinders people from achieving something. Thank you. So moving on to this point, even handicapped people, they can fulfill the purpose even better sometimes than someone who's not handicapped. So everyone, depending on how they are with the capacity and the ability that Allah has given them, they will be judged accordingly. No one will be judged unfairly. Allah is the most just. Okay? Barakallah feek. Thank you.